Welcome, my demons. This is my first rant. I want these videos to have a bit of a more serious tone, and I'm hoping these videos give you a bit of insight into my thoughts when I'm not making games. With that in mind, here's the topic of this first rant: a new religion. This is not a religion per se, it is more of a belief that I have come to accept as I've thought of it and as I've grown older. I really hope the atheists out there agree with this, though no skin off anybody's backs if they don't. I feel I need to say some stuff in this rant might be triggering to certain devout believers. If so, please click off this video right now. I don't have a name for this belief, though I'm open to feedback. Let's just call it the ocean for now. Imagine an infinite ocean, one that spans all around us, in a layer of reality we cannot perceive. This ocean is an ocean of data. My belief is that whenever something becomes sentient, alive, it takes a drop out of this ocean. Humans, cats, dogs, horses, aliens, everything takes a drop out of this ocean when it is born, hatched, or otherwise brought into this world. Now, depending on where in the ocean they took their drop from, this drop might be colder or hotter. In this case, the temperature of the drop is a metaphor, and it defines how we learn from things. You know how two people, possibly even twins, can view a formational event, maybe something traumatic, completely differently when they grow up? Well, the temperature of this drop explains that. You know how some people seem to have overly optimistic worldviews, even when they've lived objectively worse lives? This temperature explains it. Now, this temperature is not set in stone. It can change. Negative experiences, things that weigh on you, poor relationships could all bring the temperature down. On the other hand, positive things, falling in love, happy childhood, beautiful nights stargazing, can all bring this temperature up. This means that everyone has a value, kind of like a soul, I guess, that not only determines their outlook on life, like how positive or negative they are and how positive or negative they view experiences, but that soul can also change for the better or worse. Now, on top of the temperature that every drop has, every molecule within that drop is a piece of data. This data contains memories. Over a person's lifetime, these water molecules are structured in such a way where memories are stored. This becomes important later. On top of believing in the soul like properties of these drops and the memory retaining properties, I also believe that whenever a sentience dies, dog, cat, horse, alien, human, whatever, its drop goes to rejoin the whole. This doesn't seem that big of a deal. However, when you think about it more deeply, it does have large implications. If everything has a soul, and a warmer soul automatically grants a better life perspective, and it's possible to warm your soul by living a satisfying life, then doesn't this mean that everyone is obligated to live their best lives so that the overall temperature of this ocean may be raised and someone in the future can be born with a warmer soul? Doesn't this mean that as the only intelligent race that we are aware of, that we humans must also make sure that other things don't live in misery as well? Doesn't that kind of make us, as the most developed species, the protectors, the guardians, the light bringers of our planet? Even with all this, there are some of the lighter implications. Sorry, even with all this, these are some of the lighter implications. Now, I did say that I am hoping this belief goes well with the atheists. However, I imagine they're not very impressed right now, considering I've only made speculations. I implore you to think about everything that lines up when you adopt this belief. First of all, as I've already mentioned, some people, even identical twins, react to the same event in completely different ways. On top of this, identical twins oftentimes have completely different personalities. This suggests that there is something beyond the genes that make our bodies that determines how we grow into whom we are. Second of all, everyone has heard of the reincarnation cases, right? There's so much evidence that points to us reincarnating in some form or another. For example, how did a little toddler boy have memories of a random, almost completely undocumented fighter pilot's last moments in World War II as his plane went down? How did twin sisters know of the violent deaths of their previous lives? How did they recognize and name their previous parents? How did they tell their second set of parents where they used to live, even when the parents never went public with the case? These cases are too common to be dismissed, and too varied to be some gimmick or schooling or such. On top of this, why can these people never seem to remember their past lives, past the age of about 6 or 7? My belief explains this. I said that I believe that over a person's lifetime, the structure of this metaphorical water droplet changes to store the memories they make. Well, what if, when someone is born, they take a water droplet that contains a significant intact portion of a previous life's water droplet? Then, wouldn't those formed memories from the previous life be kind of like inherited, at least until overwritten by memories of the new life? This phenomenon, phenom, phenom, phenomenon. This phenomenon also explains why entire past lives are never inherited, and why memories from reincarnation are never from lives that happened decades or centuries ago. Think about it. Is it ever possible to get the exact same drop from the ocean 2 times? No. This means it is also impossible to get the same exact soul 2 times. Another consideration. Over time, wouldn't a drop placed in the ocean diffuse and get ripped apart, so it eventually is completely mixed with the water already in the ocean? Same happens to the souls of the dead. If someone happens to take a drop from almost the exact same quote unquote place in the ocean, then wouldn't it have to be fairly recently after the drop of the dead returned there so that memories could be inherited? Yet another logical conclusion that I can draw, since I have created this belief, is proof for why people generally feel more depressed, more upset, more self conscious in the current day and age, when objectively speaking, the quality of life has gone up on average worldwide over the last decades and even centuries. Remember how I mentioned the temperature of the soul? How a metaphorically colder one would lead you to perceive things in a more negative manner, and how a warmer one may lead you to perceive the same things in a more positive manner? Well, think about it. If your drop starts chilly or cold, and you view everything that happens around you in a negative manner, then doesn't that mean that the drop goes even lower in temperature since you haven't experienced many things outright positive from your perspective? If this is the case, and it is repeated across an entire population, wouldn't it mean that all those millions or billions of drops are returning to the ocean on average colder than when they left? Doesn't this mean that the ocean is experiencing a universal cooling? Supposing the source of our soul is experiencing this universal cooling, then aren't future souls that are drawn from the ocean going to start cooler and therefore repeat the cycle? I have more, less concrete proofs and logical conclusions that I can draw from my belief. However, I don't want this rant to go on too long. I hope that I've given you something to mull over if you're an atheist, and I hope I have at least not offended you if you are a believer of a different faith. My belief does not deal with God or gods for that matter, doesn't deal with the supernatural like ghosts or poltergeists. It simply aims to explain a few things that science can't explain in a consistent, non paradoxical way. And it aims to explain why every person should lead their best lives. Thanks for hearing this rant, and I hope to see you in the next one. Sayonara, my demons.